Frogman Friday.
Yeah, boy.
What's up, everyone? It's that time again. Welcome to the Frogman Friday show. Presented by Transcend, the best peptide and hormone therapy. They put your health first so you can live more and worry less. Go to transcendcompany.com/Birdman to begin your wellness transformation today. Today, our badass guest is Bryan Chesnut, aka Nut. He served 25 years as a Navy SEAL, exiting service as a Master Chief. He founded All Systems Ready, ASR, in 2021, located in Houston, Texas. You can follow Nut on all social channels, handles to follow the show. To learn more about ASR, go check out allsystemsready.com. Fast note, Nut and I went to sniper school together, and he has been titled the greatest leaping stalker of all time. Brother, welcome to the show.
How you doing, man? Good to be here. Really good to be here.
It's so good to see you.
I did not know I was titled that.
I was just telling my wife this story last night. The funniest thing when we were at sniper and I was in that ravine and all of a sudden you popped your head out and you're like, I got to get across the way. And you just launched yourself all the way down head first. And I'm like, this is bad. Like, this is not, you're psycho. So I just gave you that title.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think this is going to be a good, it's going to take me an hour to get down there. Or I can just jump. Sometimes you just have to take the leap.
Dude, you have said some funny stuff, and for another time, we'll get into all that. But I want to dig into ASR, talk about All Systems Ready. So you got out of the service, you get into this business, you started this. Why did you do it? What does it do? And what do we need to know?
Well, I found that right when I got out of the Navy, right before I got out, I went through the Honor Foundation, and that was all, telling us basically how you can translate what you learned in the military into the civilian workforce and into business. And to me, it really resonated because it was really basically, if you're really good at building teams, if you're good at systems and processes, if you're good at SOPs, you can make it, pretty well. So that was a really, it was a nerve-wracking time because you got to figure out, what am I going to do when I'm not in the military? And it's not sit around. So I didn't ever even get a chance to apply for a job. I went through the Honor Foundation, and then I got a phone call telling me, hey, we've got this guy that needs a COO for a company. Would you be willing to talk to him? And I said, yeah. And oddly, I'm tearing out the air conditioning on my truck at the time. And I've got literally grease up to my elbows. And when she said, would you be willing to talk to him, or would you be willing to take a text from him? I said, yes. Well, that text came about 30 seconds later. And he said, hey, my name's Frank Kern, and I need a COO. I heard you're the guy. Can you take a call? And I said, yeah, sure. Let's get on a call. And the phone rings. And so I'm like trying to push speakerphone with my nose. And I should have known right there, that was kind of the start of a really great relationship as far as working with Frank Kern. He was building a marketing company and running Facebook ads for people. And so I went in and I said, hey, I'm not going to work with you unless I can help you. So I need a couple of weeks to take a look at your company and see if I can help you. And I went in and found all kinds of really simple things that could be helped and fixed and changed. And basically the answers were all in the company, just talking to the people, seeing where they were struggling and where they were having problems. And so I shifted that. Our gear in the military, we're always trying to streamline it. We're always trying to get it lighter, make it work better, faster. If we can move stitching, a quarter of an inch to make something a split second faster, we'll do it, because it's worth doing because your life is on the line. Well, take that and put that into business, and there's all kinds of stuff that you can streamline and fix. Then the problem becomes prioritizing where the juice is worth the squeeze, where you're going to get the most. Oddly, that was Frank's philosophy, was find the one lever in a business that you can pull that's going to make the biggest impact, and find that and do that. And he's like, once you figure out what's working, do more of that. It's very simplistic. So we really meshed up well. And then we had the greatest interview of all time. I think he asked me if we were sitting down. He asked me if I could come down and meet him at his office, because when he said I run Facebook ads, I was like, Facebook, is that still around? And he said, you got to come meet me at my office. So I went and met him, and in the middle of it, he's looking at what I thought was my resume. And he said, it seems like you've done a lot of operations. And I was like, well, Frank, that I've done a lot of operations. I've done a lot of stuff that looks very similar to business. I haven't played with the dollars and cents of business the way that, yeah, there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of just the compliance issues and things like that you have, but it's the same in the military. And he says, yeah, okay, I see it. I was like, but my operations experience may not be exactly what you're thinking about. He goes, but you've been out on a lot of missions. And I was like, I have. And he's like, I'd fight you. And at that moment, I should have dove across the desk and tackled him, because that would be an epic story that would have been hilarious. I just, at the time, I was like, I kind of need a job, and I don't really, I shouldn't be messing around right now. But knowing him now, he would have told that story the day he died, of the time that the Navy SEAL attacked him in his office, and he fought off the Navy SEAL, whatever. And he literally looked down when he said that, and he kind of looks back up, and he's trying not to laugh. And he goes, I have always wanted to say that to a Navy SEAL, but I don't mean it. So that started a great opportunity. He basically handed me the keys to the business and said, I got marketing, you run everything. And that was kind of the synopsis of my career in the military. So it worked out really well outside of the Navy. So that kind of brought me into this several different companies that I worked with, running operations. And that was when I decided to start ASR with my partner, Corinne. We had talked about we're working for coaching clients and everything, and we can handle 5 or 6 at a time easily. Why don't we form a company and just do it that way? And that made a lot of sense. And we were able to bring in a lot of revenue doing it and help a lot of clients. And it's just been fantastic. So.
Wow. So for people who are listening right now, like say I run a business, I'm small, medium, large, and I meet you. What do I do? Like, how do I go about this? Do I reach out to you, and how does this all work?
Well, generally, we've been really word of mouth for the last couple of years. The main thing is just reach out. Let's talk, find out if we're even a match, if we're even a fit for each other, just character-wise. So sometimes people, the thing that people are doing with their business is not something that we can help with, but most of the time it is. The main thing is if you find yourself like where you're overwhelmed and you're just kind of you just see like white noise, and you're not really actually able to find the problems or get things to start moving in your business, then yeah, it's really good to make that phone call or send us an email, hit the website. And we run a systems assessment where we take a look at the business and start kind of digging in before we do before we really get moving with the clients. We do the systems assessment, take a look at their software stack, see if there's things that we can fix right off the bat. We'll go in and look at their funnels, their marketing funnels. We'll take a look at their how they're fulfilling for their clients. If they're running, if it's a company that's running a logistics supply chain because they're actually selling products, manufactured products, we'll take a look at where their issues are there and just figure out where the biggest problem is, where that big lever is that we can focus attention and get the most bang for the buck. A lot of times it's just the basic, the foundational things of the company haven't been really addressed because they're busy building the company. So we go back and put that stuff together and get them a good baseline, a good foundation, solid systems and processes. Sometimes we'll change software and make it easier for them utilizing that stuff. Sometimes it's as simple. We've come in and they're running a company off Excel spreadsheets. We put them on a project management tool, and that helps out right off the bat. So
that's really
yeah,
interesting. I could relate to that really well. When I started in business, it was Excel, and
yeah.
definitely a lot easier ways to do it than that. That is a pain in the butt.
Well, think
So
about it, Navy, Ryan. They pulled us off of Excel spreadsheets back in the late 90s and gave us software to start doing project management, basically. It all translates, and that project management was planning missions.
right.
So our mission planning software was a godsend. You know, I mean, it did get us into PowerPoint and death by PowerPoint.
Yes, you had to bring
but
that up.
yeah, but it's a continual evolution. You know, business, the things in business, marketing hasn't changed. Business strategies not really changed, but the evolution of the tools, that changes all the time.
Sure.
And entrepreneurial businesses, a lot of times their leadership isn't what it should be, just because they're entrepreneurs. They've been working on being an entrepreneur. They haven't been working on being a leader. So yeah, there's a lot of different facets to it.
So is there a typical like genre that you focus on? What's your typical business you're looking for to work with?
I like working with e-com clients that are selling products online. But we have a lot of coaching clients that are coaching fitness, business coaching, business coaching. We've had coaches that coach accountants, which is hilarious because they put software together that made it so that accountants could take on 4 or 5 more clients with their time just by utilizing the software, which is a project management software. And it's amazing. I was like, you need us, but you're teaching people how to do kind of the same thing. And there was just some nuance that they weren't able to fulfill.
Interesting.
Yes, a lot of marketing agencies, we've worked with them. And we kind of support in all levels. We've been with startups where we've just coached them and helped them out, like telling them what they need to do, and they can take their people and do it. We've done it where we've gone in and worked with them. So when I was working with Frank Kern, I would work with his clients to help them build stuff up, but I didn't have time to do it or manage it because I was working for Frank. So helping his clients was a lot of fun. I got a lot of exposure to a bunch of people, but it's remarkable. It's always the same thing. It's find that one lever that you can pull that's going to make the most bang for the buck, and then once you get that one done, find the next one and prioritize that stuff.
What do you feel like some of the resistance might be as far as just being able to bring a company like yours in? Because I mean, CEOs and COOs sometimes have different agendas. So do you find that there's a resistance, and what would be some of those things that people don't understand that set you apart?
So sometimes what we see is it's really it's pride. Like we need to be lifelong learners. I told you a story just a minute ago about how I got schooled yesterday by the guy. It was great. It was a great experience for me because it was like, oh, he's seen something out of an optic that I don't see. The human experience, there are so many things out there. You're not going to see it all. I don't care if you're the greatest CEO in the world. Look at Bayer Aspirin or Bayer Pharmaceuticals. Their CEO went in and took a look at it, and he's like, something's not happening. We're going down. We've got a problem. And he went and dug around in the company and found out, well, yeah, we got a problem. We've got a 1,300-page employee handbook. How in the world can anybody get anything done in a bureaucracy that's built like that? And sure enough, the people in the company verified it. They're like, yeah, we can't get anything done.
Wow.
So he literally chopped away middle management because that's the bureaucracy, and decided we're not going to do it that way. I'm eager to see how that works out for him, because it's very much like how special operations was developed. We had to have a very lean middle management piece. You didn't get to be a chief in a platoon if you couldn't shoot.
Right.
So had to get out there and do the job and manage. Well, that's the thing I think that people, they're afraid that we're going to come in and expose their weaknesses. And the reality of it is yes, that's exactly what we want to do, but we're not doing it as a weakness. It's something that you didn't see. It's the optic that you're looking through didn't pick that up. And that's great, because if we can find something that helps you, then the objective is met. You've made some progress forward. You've got something that's helped you. But a lot of people get they're worried about their jobs, and they're worried about, and so that's the thing that I think it's easier for us to work with a CEO than it is to work through someone else at a company, because there's too much miscommunication at that point. And it's literally, I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with CEOs that this person is doing a fantastic job. There's no way you want to get rid of them. There were these things that weren't happening. Now they are. Give them to that person and let them run with it, or let her run with it. It's just making sure that you're approaching something that's not a threat, giving information in a very in a way that they can absorb it, and it helps them, you know.
It's interesting. I'll talk on this real quick. So, when you talk about leadership coming in and being able to develop things and looking at systems that may or may not be broken, for those of you listening, so Nut was actually my last platoon chief. And for those of you who don't know, platoon chief is the tacticianer of the platoon. They're the highest ranking enlisted member that runs the platoon, that has been there. He's got the season, or he's seasoned, knows this stuff. And he joined us midway through the platoon. And so he had to do exactly then in the military for us what he's doing currently, is coming in, having to open every door, figure out what's not working, make sure it works, because we were getting ready to deploy to Basra, Iraq. So I can talk from personal experience that I know that Nut knows what he's doing, and he's really good at it. By far my favorite platoon chief, no question about it. So
come on now, you're talking about a group of amazing people. I appreciate it.
I like guys on the teams for sure, but I had some platoon chiefs, and then I had you, and I was like, we've got time and experience together.
That is an honor, my friend. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Why
man.
haven't you ever told me that before?
Well, you move around, and so I can't find you if you're in Cali or Houston or wherever you're at, but it's my fault. You're right. It's my fault. I'll take it. I own that. So
well,
like,
it's an honor.
Absolutely, my man. So biggest thing for me is like, what do we need to know about what your company does, and maybe some of your focus points? There's obviously, this is a short form to explain who you are and introduce you and your company to our guest here, but what do we need to know? There's probably going to be people that are listening to this who are starting companies, have started companies. Obviously, everybody has issues and struggles. What do we need to know?
It's really that we basically can come in and take over day-to-day operations. We can come in and evaluate day-to-day operations and see how they're doing. And we can go all the way back to, we can just evaluate and coach, and tell you what's wrong, or do it. So it's basically a coaching, a done with you or done for you, just depends on what you need. And we do that in operations, getting the systems and processes in place, managing the finances. Like, I work with a lot of CFOs to make sure that we've got budgets in place, we've got forecasting in place. Like, it's the litany of things. It's huge, but we also try to figure out, like, the growth of the business. What's the next hire? What's the next move? Like, do we hire a coach if it's a coaching company? Do we hire an accountant because we've got somebody that's doing the accounting that's not an accountant? I've had people that I've worked with a business owner that he had, it was two partners. One was getting paid like $12,000 a month, and he was a engineer that built software. And they had software that they were trying to build that was sitting on the side because he was doing accounting. And I was like, why are you doing the accounting? I've got people that can do accounting for $1,200 a month. He's like, no, we can't afford $1,200 a month. I was like, can we afford $12,500 a month to pay you for really bad accounting? Because it'd be better to go pay the little bit, get proper accounting done, and then you actually get the projects going. And he's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's the thing, I can't read the label because I'm inside the bottle, he's in it every day. So he's not thinking like that. So we help them figure out what the next move is on hires, help them figure out where their marketing is going, what's working, what's not. Most companies that we work with, we come in and set them up on project management software if they don't have it. We start tracking everything. You would be so surprised at how many companies are making 10 million a year and they're not tracking anything. And they're like, yeah, we get all of our stuff through Instagram and all of our leads. And I'm like, do you now? And then when we set up tracking, we find out that they've put tons of money into that, but they've put a little bit of money into their email list and a little bit of money into their Facebook ads or other paid media. And those are the ones that are bringing in the lion's share of leads. So we figure out what's working, take a good assessment of that, prioritize what needs to happen next, and then move on. And we try to do it with the tools they have, because one of the things, people don't like change. So if somebody's got an Excel spreadsheet that they're so attached to that, and we can't show them a project management software that just wows them, we just keep using that Excel spreadsheet if we have to. Like, I'm not going to, if I would rather have somebody have a lockdown Excel spreadsheet that works. And when I say lockdown, I mean where you don't have 20 people on it so that you have 10% data loss. We see a lot of that. If you got somebody that can do that, then fine. That's the thing, is we do not have a agenda other than to get the performance of the company out. And we don't focus on things we like. We focus on what works for the company with no emotional attachment to tools and things like that. That's why we work with everything we can. Another thing I learned with Frank Kern, his company is a veritable petri dish of software that he tries and checks out because he wants to be on the forefront and make things as easy as possible. And that's why he can have like 6 employees and pull down a ton of money. So his margins are through the roof.
It's amazing, man. Interesting. Well, I mean, I know that I have contacts that I'm going to send your way. And if you're listening right now and you have a company or you're starting a company and you want to reach out, we're going to have all of Nut's information right after this on this, so you can reach out directly to start your adventure towards making actual growth and money in your company, and looking at it from a more simplified version, because they apparently do the work. So that
we will.
So I got one thing to end on real quick, because I always do this and I throw everybody through a loop when I do it, but I want the human side of you for a second, not the business side of you. So tell us a story about a guy that you want to honor, a brother that you loved, a brother who gave his life for this country, somebody who taught you something of high level. Give us something meaningful that has helped you in your career.
I can go. Unfortunately, there's too many brothers that I love that I lost. But my point man from my last platoon passed away. His name's Lincoln Bashu. And the thing that guy taught me a lot. And he reminded me a lot of the other people, the other guys, the other support people that we worked with in the military. He reminded me about this one trait. And the trait is that when we go do our jobs, nobody is doing things to try to screw up. They're trying to do their best. And one of the stories, I had a guy come in and bang on my door. We were running aircraft, UAVs, over a portion of Iraq. And I had tasked Link with going in and figuring out a route to take into this area that was north of Balad, Iraq. And it was supposedly American forces couldn't go there. Even the wrong Iraqi army couldn't even go in there. It was run by a corrupt police force. Corrupt being a very loosely used word out there, because in that area, they weren't corrupt to them, to the people of that area. it was just corrupt to the government of Iraq. It's, just different opinions there. So I tasked him with getting us a route to go in, which was a big, tall task. You were lead nav. This guy was a brand new guy. He was 27 years old, brand new guy, had made his share of mistakes as a new guy. But when we got on deployment, he bloomed. And much like you saw our guys when we deployed in 2009 together. So he's got this aircraft flying, and I get a bang on my door from this intelligence officer. And he's banging on my door, and I open up and I was like, hey, what's going on? And he says, one of your guys has a daytime aircraft flying at night, and we cannot have this. You guys are wasting assets. And I was like, whoa, hold on a second. And my stomach's churning a little bit because I'm like, oh, somebody messed up. But I'm smart enough to know that none of our guys, none of our support people, nobody that worked with us sets out to do things incorrectly. And I got this thing in the back of my mind going, benefit of the doubt, man, benefit of the doubt. And I was like, hey, give me 1 second. I pull out, our devices that we could contact everybody. It's called the pager in 2011.
Yes.
So I page him, I'm like, hey, Link, come up to the jock. And he comes up and he doesn't know what's going on. He walks up and he says, hey, Chief, what's going on? And he's kind of wiping the sleep out of his eyes. And I said, hey, got a daytime aircraft up flying right now. And it's nighttime and the intel officer is really upset. And Link's like, oh, okay. And I was like, you want to tell him why you're doing it? And I did it. I said it like, I know why you're doing it, but he doesn't. So explain it. And he says, yeah, well, that route that you had me looking at. And I was like, yeah. He says, well, it turns out that, and he names off names. This guy over here and this guy over here, we're going to be walking right by their houses. And those are both cousins to the guy that we're going after. And if we trigger something there, he's going to let the bad guys know that we're coming, and we could be walking into a really bad situation. And we had like 30 guys on this mission. It was one of the big ones that we were able to get away with, at the time. And we also had aerial reaction force that was all special forces guys, and they were actually the bait. We were flying them in to draw all the attention away from us. So they were going to fly in and land in helicopters and then run over to us. Link says, I'm flying the aircraft because I'm trying to see the light rings from their light bulbs that they have in the backyard of this house to make sure that we're not in the light when we go by. And I look at the intel officer and I'm like, makes sense. And the guy's like, what? And he goes, light rings. And he shifts, in that place, we had the ability to shift screens so that he had that aircraft's data coming down. And he, there's big screens all over the room. And he says, look over here. Says, see the light rings? We're going to patrol right by there. I just have I'm going to look at this video tomorrow and see if any other lights turn on. And then that way I can do my route, about 6 or 8 feet around there. And the guy says, you're weaving 30 guys through a needle like that. And he says, yeah. And I was like, yeah, we do it all the time. We didn't do it all the time. That was the only time I ever did it, as a matter of fact. I hope that intel officer doesn't watch this video, but I said, yeah, that's how we do it, man. And he's like, whoa. And I was like, hey, please give the guys the benefit of the doubt. They know what they're doing. They're professionals. They're really good. And then Link looks at me and he goes, is that okay? And I was like, yeah, I just needed you to tell him how we do things. And the guy, Link takes off, and I walked over and I bang on Clay Hergert's door. I think it was Clay Hergert or Troy Deal, one of those two guys. And I said, hey, Link was flying a daytime bird at night so that he could see the light rings. And they're like, man, that's a great idea. I was like, yeah, I told him to do it. And then I started laughing, and they're like, he came up with that? And I was like, yeah, he came up with that. And the reason I told them was I wanted them to understand that this guy that was considered the mess up of the platoon, the weak link, he was not. He was actually contributing hugely. And that mission went down, and it was fantastic. We had the executive officer of the team on that mission, and
Wow.
it went down really well. And the route that he led us through was incredible. It was like 9 kilometers, like weaving in and out of backyards in the middle of the night, getting down there. And we got in and nobody knew we were there.
Amazing.
So, yep. So I would like to honor Link. Like I'd like to honor the fact that he taught me a lesson that far into my career, to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. They're not trying to do things that are messed up. Find out what they're doing before you condemn them, because it would have been very easy to come in and say, you know, to start screaming like, what are you doing? You're wasting money, you're burning assets, blah, blah, blah. You know, you've got these guys up in the middle of the night flying a bird that's ineffective. Like it took like 20 people to make that happen. But he made the call, and I gave him the authority and autonomy to do that in that environment. And I found that I've never had somebody take too much when we give them, you know, when we give them ownership of things. I've never seen that. And if they start to, then you say, hey, that's enough. That's far enough. You're doing great. But that's the line right there. And it usually works really well. People will surprise you. Your people will surprise you. And that was the lesson Link taught me inadvertently. And then I told him years later that, hey, when you did that, that was really impressive. He's like, you mean you guys didn't do it like that all the time? I was like, I'm not going to build your ego up that early in your career and ruin you.
So good.
But when he passed away, it was like all of the guys, you know, like the pain from all of them came, you know, because he was just so young and so early in his career. So yeah, that was a hard one.
Well, I never got to meet Link, but he definitely sounds like a badass, and it's an awesome story of good old fashioned team guy ingenuity, and on your part too, the leadership, you know, and I can attest to that as well. You were definitely a guy who was like, here's your autonomy. You've been trained to do this job. You know what you're doing. Go do it. You know, there's no hand holding here. Like, you got it. Except I will end it on this subject. So during the time that Bryan and I were deployed together, it was Stanley Cup Finals, and I'm a big hockey guy. And we played hockey in Saddam's Palace. We got sticks. I mean, when we had time off, we were jamming out, and we started to form teams to where we were doing our Stanley Cup. And of course, we ended up building a Stanley Cup out of tinfoil and like cardboard. And just before we could actually win a Stanley Cup or do any of that stuff, it disappears. And I'm talking to everybody, and everybody's asking where it's at, and everybody's got like an honesty thing on their face, and Nut's nowhere to be found. And I finally go to you and I'm like, hey, where's that Stanley Cup? And you're like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay. I know you stole it, but you're not telling us. And I mean, for maybe months, we did not find it. And it was just like we gave up, and we didn't even have a Stanley Cup Finals because we had no cup. And then I find it in your bathroom underneath a wooden board, and I'm like, he totally stole it. So
it's in the bathtub.
Yeah, I know. So there's so many stories with this guy, and it's just been all incredible. But again, going back to his leadership is incredible, because he will dissect the situation. He lets the people go and do what they need to do to persevere. And I can't speak highly enough of what you do and what you have done for me. So super grateful for you, brother. Yeah, absolutely, man. Go check out ASR. That's allsystemsready.com. Make sure to follow Nut on all socials. They'll be on here afterwards. You need anything, any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out. We're going to have his information. Remember to check out transcendcompany.com/Birdman to begin your wellness transformation today, and follow him on all social channels. This has been awesome, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Right on. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Always.
Frogman.